2012, a Burger King employee anonymously posted this to 4chan. It said, "This is the lettuce you eat at Burger King." It only took 20 minutes for people to track down the branch that he worked at, and he was fired. You really never know what people are doing to your food.
What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to my channel. How you guys doing? If you guys are brand new here, man, you guys don't know what we do. Let me break it down for you guys, man. We talk about the most scariest and creepiest videos on the net, on the web, from YouTube videos to TikTok videos, IG Reels, Facebook, anything weird, usual, and unexplained you can find right here on this channel. Just want to thank each and every single one of my supporters, man, who come back to the channel each and every single day, watching the videos entirely, man. Commented down below, and most importantly, hit that thumbs up button on each and every single video drop. I really appreciate the support. Found this video for you guys today, man. Let's do what we do best. Stay with me, y'all. Let's seek the truth.
Creepy facts I bet you didn't know, part 1. Your lips and anus are connected by the same tube. 90% of serial killers choose their victims by sexual desire. Your organs move freely around your body. Crows used to follow armies to feed on dead bodies. Human sacrifice was a real thing in Aztec Mexico.
Whoa. Bombarded with information, man.
Scariest mythical creatures from around the world, part 2. The Jersey Devil. The Jersey Devil is a legendary creature found in Pine Branch, South Jersey. It is known to look exactly like a giant flying goat, having an extremely long neck, massive wings, extremely short legs, and of course a tail as sharp as a sword. Don't forget to like and follow for a part 3.
Disturbing facts that will ruin your childhood, part 2. This little girl here is Judith Barcy. She played Ducky in Land Before Time. She also played Anne Marie in All Dogs Go to Heaven. In 1988, she was shot in the head by her own father. He also did the same thing to her mother. After that, he doused the bodies in gasoline, then proceeded to set them on fire. He then shot himself in the head, and that's how the story ends. Her gravestone says "yup, yup, yup," which is a quote from her character in the Land Before Time movies.
The creepiest places in the
That's a
world.
shame.
Gate to Hell, Turkmenistan. It's been burning for past 40 years, and no one knows when it's going to stop.
Lake Natron, Tanzania.
Due to high levels of salt contents, everything that touches the lake turns to pure stone.
Mythical creatures caught on camera. Unicorn.
Or these could be edits, high quality edits.
Fairy.
I'm gonna have to call cap on this one.
Dragon.
Yeah, that's definitely a cap, bro. It's high quality. I give him that though. Imagine how the world would react if that was a real dragon.
Mermaid. Phoenix.
Is that bird on fire? Yeah. Okay. What do you think about those video seekers? I think the only one that probably got to me was the mermaid one, because I think they're truly all probably mermaids, man. We just haven't seen them yet. Maybe sirens or whatever they're called, man.
Scary facts you didn't know are real, part 4. Most people agree that dying in your sleep is probably the best way to go. Peaceful, no signs of pain, no torture. Some say that an angel will pick you up and carry you to heaven while you're asleep. But sometimes angels can be clumsy and they can drop you. Remember the times you've been falling in your sleep and then you just randomly wake up? Makes sense to the whole hell on earth thing. Did you know that after sitting in a dimly lit room for 10 minutes, your brain will get so bored that it will literally start scaring you? Monsters in your reflection, your brain just completely playing tricks on you. This causes you to see imagery like Bloody Mary. That's why people do the Bloody Mary challenge in a completely pitch black room. And it doesn't happen right away because it's your brain literally playing tricks on you. Once upon a time, legends say that a little girl drowned in a canal, completely surrounded by an uninhabited island in Mexico. Today, some are even hung by trees. Now the area is nicknamed the Island of Dolls. That's fucking scary. A little girl drowned there, people have killed themselves there, and now it's called the Island of Dolls. I'll definitely pass on that one. Like and follow for more facts.
The most insane rulers in history, Part 2. Ivan IV, aka Ivan the Terrible, was Tsar of Russia between 1547 and 1548. Abuse as a child gave way to mental illness as an adult, and Ivan began torturing small animals. In 1544, at only 14, he seized control of Russia by feeding the head of the government to a pack of dogs. He then began massacring his own people and even killed his oldest son himself. He would apologize publicly for his cruel actions and then immediately turn around and do something even worse. Prince Sado lived in Korea between 1735 and 1762. After being sick with measles at 17, he began acting violently, abusing his servants and attacking women. He began murdering on a whim and even began stalking his own sister, which was the point that the king had enough. To prevent the prince from spreading any more terror, the king had him locked in a rice chest where he spent 8 days until he eventually died.
Some of these those rulers, man. Like I said, lost in history, bro. I'm learning new things every single day watching you guys secrets. Goes to show you, man, how if you mess with somebody at a freaking young age, their childhood, it truly shapes the person they became. Look what happened.
This is the creepy story on the children on the bus. One night a man was on a bus, on his way home from work. He thought he was the only person on the bus, until he heard children's voices coming from behind him. He was listening to their conversation, and was very interested. The two young boys were talking about a ghost story. They were saying, and if you turn around, the ghost will snatch you away, and carry you to the underworld. The man recognized the boy's voice. He often seen the kids on the same bus, on his way home from work every day. They attended a school nearby. Then the other boy was saying, "That's easy then. All you have to do is make sure you don't turn around." "Yeah," said the first boy. "But the thing is, you can't help but turn around. The ghost will try all sorts of tricks to make you turn around." The man then realized they were getting close to their stop. However, it looked like they didn't notice. When the bus stopped, the kids were still talking. The man thought he should warn them that they're gonna miss their stop, so he turned around to tell them. The man was never seen again.
Turned around. They told him don't turn around. It's a story if he was listening to it. A creepy bus story, bro. Sounds legit to me.
I'm Gonna Ruin Your Childhood, Part 1. The original Wizard of Oz movie is actually considered to be cursed because of all the horrific things that happened during filming. The main character, Dorothy, who was played by Judy Garland, was actually drugged and molested during filming. She was given adrenaline shots so that she could stay up more than 48 hours at a time. And there are reports that she was sexually assaulted by the Munchkin actors and studio executives. The actress who played the Wicked Witch got horrifically burned on set. During the scene where the witch escapes Munchkinland in a plume of smoke, the pyrotechnic team set off the explosion a little too early. It caused the witch's broom, hat, and makeup to catch on fire. The medics had to rub alcohol all over the burns to remove the makeup, which was extremely painful. And the snow that you see in the movie was actually a lethal chemical called asbesto, which causes cancer.
This is the worst thing that ever happened at a concert. In 2003, the band Great White was performing live when pyrotechnics went off as planned. But within moments, everything took a horrifying turn. Flames erupted as the foam on the stage and walls caught fire, spreading faster than anyone could react. While the band managed to escape through the back exits, hundreds of audience members were left in chaos, desperately trying to find their way out. Thick smoke quickly filled the venue and people scrambled toward the front entrance, creating a wall of bodies as they clambered over each other in a desperate bid to survive. In the video of the incident, you can see people screaming and getting crushed to death.
The situation spiraled as people became trapped, some crushed under the weight of others. And survivors described the scenes of half-burned victims being pulled out from the flames. Outside in the snow, survivors tried to help by rubbing snow onto the burned. But the devastation was immense. By the end, 100 people had tragically lost their lives, and over 200 were injured in one of the most heartbreaking concert disasters in history.
This skull was found inside the wall of a house in Illinois, and it turns out that it belonged to a woman that passed away more than 150 years ago. In 1978, James Scare was doing renovations on his home when he came across a skull behind the wall. He called police and they took the skull to further investigate. They knew it belonged to a woman, but could not identify who this person was until recently. In February 2024, with the help of genetic genealogy, they finally determined that the skull belonged to a 17-year-old woman named Esther Granger. Esther was born on October 6, 1848 in Indiana, and at 16 she got married, then pregnant, but passed away from complications after giving birth to her daughter in 1866. She was buried in a grave in Illinois, and her daughter was named after her. Now you're probably wondering, how in the world did Esther's skull randomly appear inside this man's wall in a completely different state? Well, even though investigators are not 100% certain, their theory is that Esther was a victim of grave robbing. Grave robbing is when someone digs up a grave and takes the body of a deceased person to often sell them to medical schools for research purposes. This was pretty common in that era since it was very profitable and there was a high demand for research and education. After searching for a family related to Esther, they found a man named Wayne, who's also a retired police officer in Portland, and he happens to be Esther's great-great-grandson.
This is the creepy story.
That's so disrespectful, man. People, they going in their graves, man, just for some money. And then, like she said, it was in that era, bro. It was like, goes to show you, even back in the day, man, people were doing wild things in the world. Grave robbing. What?
Story about the stare. A girl was on the subway late at night when she noticed a woman staring at her intensely. The woman was sitting between two old men. The girl kept looking away, but the woman staring never broke eye contact. It started to freak the girl out. At the next stop, a tall man in a trench coat boarded. He sat down right next to the girl. The woman who was staring paid no attention to the man who just boarded and just kept staring at the girl. Now this really creeped out the girl. The two men that the woman was sitting between never once looked in her direction. The girl then pretended not to notice, but each time she looked, the woman was still staring at her. At the next stop, the man in the trench coat got up to leave when suddenly he grabbed the girl's arm and dragged her out of the subway. The doors shut and the subway took off. The girl then started screaming for help, but then the man said, "Calm down. I just saved your life. I didn't mean to scare you, but I had to get you off that subway. The woman that was staring at you was dead, and the two men beside her were holding her up."
Oh, so he was a lifesaver then. Good people in the world, man, watching out for you, looking out for you. She didn't pick up on that.
A family was recording their reunion having dinner when they accidentally captured something disturbing outside. Useless Sanguera was with his family at Argentina's Matias Hotel enjoying a poolside dinner when he decided to film the moment. As the family's enjoying their dinner, little did they know something horrifying would be captured.
See that?
As he pans the camera across the table, he sees this eerie pale person just standing there in the dark woods. Now, this could be just another guest staying at the hotel, but after zooming in, things get weirder. The figure doesn't seem to have any facial features, just a black mouth opening as the man zooms in on it. Not wanting to find out who or what this could be, the family finished their dinner and rushed back to their room. Sanguero mentions he has no idea if what he saw that night was even human.
Yo, what's up?
What was
Here's
that?
some scary facts about our world that you probably didn't want to know. Part 45. Egyptian mummies would still be considered one of the rarest artifacts to find up to date, if medieval Europeans hadn't consumed a majority of the dead mummies' bodies, because they believed back then that if you consumed embalmed dead bodies, that it would actually heal your ailments. Please do not try this. Next one, but it is actually possible that you can convince somebody who has no history of mental illness in their family that they have a severe mental illness in roughly only a week. Please do not try to convince your brother that he has schizophrenia. That would not be a good idea, and it would not end up well. Throughout the filming of The Exorcist, you hear the possessed girl let out multiple demonic screams, but little did you know that those screams weren't humanly possible, and they were actually the sounds of squealing pigs who were being taken to a slaughterhouse. And last but certainly not least, it is said that people who practice the religion of Zoroastrianism actually leave dead bodies up in towers so that vultures can consume their remains. To us it may seem a little strange, but to them it's actually a sign of respect. But when I die, please don't put my body in a tower so I can be eaten by vultures. It's just not my thing.
These parents saved their 15-year-old daughter because they claimed that it was safer than her doing it with someone else. Just a warning that this story is very disturbing, but it does need to be talked about. In March of this year, a 15-year-old girl had called police that her stepfather had been essaying her for the last year and a half. She also told them that her mother was aware of this and let it happen. Police interviewed John and Shamika Hayes, and they admitted to everything, and they claimed that they thought it was safer for them to do that to their daughter instead of her doing it with some random stranger. This all started when the girl was 14 years old. Her mother had found her Snapchat and saw that she was Snapchatting strangers, and she assumed that her daughter was trying to meet up with them. This part is disgusting, but her parents bought her toys to show her how to use them on herself and them. Police arrested and charged the parents, and they are currently being held at the Utah County Jail without bail. It was revealed that Shamika and John Hayes were a part of an LDS church, and it seemed like that church was trying to protect their image. The state of Utah recently passed a law that clergy are no longer required to report a crime of child essay if they know about it. So let's say someone goes to church to confess and they're talking to the clergy that they essayed their child. That clergy does not have to report it. The church can also cover this up and control the media when these reports are given to authorities. These children are not being protected, and if they were to go to a church leader to tell them what was happening to them, they would basically tell them to forget about it and just forgive that person. If a child were to report to police that they were getting essayed by a church member, that specific church has laws to protect that person so their name doesn't get out there. I know that this case was probably very hard to listen to, but it's very important that this 15-year-old girl and many others get the justice that they deserve.
That was an insane case, man. All those freaking loopholes to protect them. What's wrong? I think that's the edit.
I think this could be the strangest disappearance I have ever heard. This 19-year-old Jason Jolkowski, and in 2001 he was living at home in Omaha, Nebraska with his family, very normal life, and it was a summer day, June 13th, where something very disturbing took place right off his street. Jason wasn't supposed to work this day, but he got called into work, and it was a place called Fazoli's. It's kind of just like a fast casual Italian place, but the problem was he didn't have his car that day. He had no transportation. This manager who made a couple of calls, and he arranged for one of the co-workers to go and pick up Jason at the nearby high school. For context, it's a very short walk from his house. It's quite literally only a few blocks. Problem was, Jason never showed. He had somehow completely vanished during this walk. He only could have gone so many ways. So one of the most logical was that he was going to take Bedford. It's a street with a lot of foot traffic, so people assumed that somebody would have seen him. An alternate option where maybe he took a couple of back roads to get to the high school. But again, what's known is that he never made it, and no one has ever found what happened to him, and nobody saw or heard what went down. Looking for more of a deep dive on this story, I'm probably going to cover it on The Sinister.
Terrifying facts you never knew. If your immune system ever found out that you have eyeballs, you would go blind. Which means right now your immune system has no clue that you can see. Because if it did, they would attack your eyeballs until you can no longer ever see. This is because your eyeballs have a protein in them called crystalline that doesn't exist anywhere else in your body. So if your immune system found out and checked them out, it would be like, something's wrong here. Studies show that most serial killers are born in November. Today's high school students have the same anxiety levels as insane asylum patients had in the 1950s. I'm not gonna lie to y'all, my anxiety might be up there too. There's a disease called fatal familial insomnia, where people suddenly one day lose their ability to fall asleep, which leads them to slowly go insane. They can't distinguish dreams from reality anymore and go into some type of paranoia. It becomes so severe that they eventually die. Those that make make it to the final stage and don't die usually end up in a vegetative state, no longer conscious. And it can happen to any one of you. About 3,000 people go missing every year in the United States. The last execution by guillotine was in 1977. This was in France. And also that was the same year the first Star Wars movie came out. You are always 6 minutes away from death, but breathing resets the clock. In 2011, Anatoly Yakovlevich was arrested for having 12 dolls in his apartment. Only problem is, they weren't normal dolls. They were recently deceased little girls that had been dug up and dressed to be put on display. In 2012, a Burger King employee anonymously posted this to 4chan. It said, "This is the lettuce you eat at Burger King." It only took 20 minutes for people to track down the branch that he worked at, and he was fired. You really never know what people are doing to your food. H.H. Holmes was a serial killer who built a torture hotel in the 19th century. He had secret rooms with gas chambers, trap doors, and stairs that led to nowhere. He loved to play with his victims' minds. It was almost like a real-life Saw movie. There's a bridge in Scotland called the Overtoun Bridge, and for some reason, dogs keep jumping off of it at the same spot. Yeah, they just jump to their deaths. Experts can't figure out why either. Some people speculate it's a magnetic field, or maybe a frequency that only they can hear, but others believe it's something supernatural. But whatever is making dogs jump off that bridge to their deaths is still to this day unexplained. Joe Matheny was an infamous serial killer who not only cooked his victims to eat for himself, but also made them into burgers, using their remains. He then sold them to unsuspecting customers from a roadside food stand. We really never know what he is. I'm cooking all my food myself, because why don't we eat over people's house? In 2021, a new homeowner was shocked to find a boarded up wall. When he ripped the boards off the wall, he discovered a hole. In that hole was a doll clutching a note. The note saying that she killed a family who lived there in the 1960s. Be honest, would you move out? In 1978, there was a pilot named Frederick Valentin. Him and his plane disappeared in Australia. His last communication was, "Melbourne, that strange aircraft is hovering above me again." It is hovering and it is not an aircraft. This is a mugshot of William West and William West. Oh, and they're not related at all, but they were both sent to Leavenworth Prison at the exact same time in 1903. And after some confusion, the staff finally figured out they were two different people who had the exact same name and looked identical. This was said to be one of the main reasons why we now use fingerprints to identify somebody. There's biotech being developed as we speak that can make prisoners feel they are serving an 1,000-year sentence in a matter of 8 hours. That's horrifying. Imagine thinking you spent 1,000 years somewhere, and then when you wake up and snap out of it, you realize that it was only a couple hours. Do you know how crazy that is? Anyways, like this video if you want a part 2.
People who gained real-life superpowers after an accident. Jason Padgett was a party animal who hated school and got terrible grades. But one day, two men savagely robbed and attacked Jason outside of a karaoke bar, leaving him with a severe concussion. The concussion caused him to become a mathematical genius and made him learn fractal geometry, which he had never been taught before. When Derek Amato was 39 years old, he hit his head after diving into a swimming pool and was diagnosed with a concussion and 35% hearing loss. After that, Derek began to see black and white keys in his head, and out of nowhere, he began to play the piano like an expert. Ben McMahon was in a car accident in 2015 and fell into a coma for a week. When he woke up, he could speak perfect Chinese even though he had only learned the basics as a child. Tony Ciceria was struck by lightning after making a call in a phone booth. Within a couple of days, he was addicted to music, which he wasn't before. After trying the piano, he became a musical artist, composing his own music.
Man, they were like getting real life superpowers, bro.
Top 3 urban legends that turned out to be true. Part 1. Number 3. The sewer crocodile. One of the most famous urban legends is about a crocodile living in the city sewers. While it may sound unbelievable, there have been several cases where crocodiles have been found in sewer systems. For example, in 2010, a young crocodile was discovered in the sewers of New York City, confirming the truth behind this urban legend. Number 2. Spiders and bananas. According to this urban legend, venomous spiders frequently hide in imported banana bunches. This story has proven to be true on multiple occasions. In 2005, a British family found a venomous spider, known as the Brazilian wandering spider, in a bunch of bananas they purchased from a supermarket. This case confirmed that there is some truth to this urban legend. Number 1. The killer. Hiding in the back seat. This urban legend tells the story of a psychopathic killer who hides in the back seat of a person's car and attacks when they are distracted. While it's difficult to find specific cases that exactly match this legend, there have been incidents where dangerous individuals have gained access to the backseat of cars and attacked their occupants. These events have confirmed the importance of being cautious and checking the inside of one's car.
So I found these conspiracy theories that are so believable, they actually might be true.
Talk about it.
Number 1, studies show that cats understand human commands but don't care to follow them. Yeah, I don't like cats. I'm a dog kind of guy. Number 2, it is believed that when you die in a dream, you wake up because your brain doesn't know how to process the idea of what comes after death. Could be. I believe it. Number 3. Now this is scary. The reason Disney came out with a movie called Frozen was so that when you Googled Disney Frozen, you would get information about the movie and not the websites talking about Walt Disney's body being frozen. I mean, I did see an article about this that was published in 1995. I'm not sure if this is true or not, but I do believe it. This is where it gets freaky. Number 4. Mike Tyson's fight, time traveler. This fight was in 1995. If you look closely, you can see that could be a smartphone. In fact, it does look like a smartphone to me. There were no smartphones in 1995. This is how phones used to look like in 1995. They didn't have cameras. They barely had any color. But this thing double flashed, exactly like how an iPhone or an Android would take a picture. I don't know about time travel, but this is very interesting. I'd really like to know what this thing was. What's the creepiest conspiracy theory that you heard of?
I think the one that got to me was probably like the time travel joint by Mike Tyson, because he showed us a graphic of those phones. They did not match up at all. I don't know if that could have been like a different version of prototype or something, man, or a different type of camera, but I think that one got to me the most, man. Time travel.
The 3 most dangerous places you should never set foot. Number 3, the Hoia Baciu Forest, located in Romania, is often dubbed the Haunted Forest due to the many paranormal stories reported there. Many visitors have described feelings of anxiety, a sense of being watched, and some even claim to have seen ghostly apparitions. In addition to the inexplicable phenomena, the forest features oddly shaped trees in areas where vegetation doesn't grow at all, heightening its mysterious ambience. Number 2, the Chernobyl zone in Ukraine is the site of the biggest nuclear disaster in history. In 1986, a reactor at the nuclear power plant exploded, releasing significant amounts of radioactive material into the environment. Today, while some parts of the region are open for strictly controlled tours, others remain highly contaminated by radiation and can pose a severe health hazard. It's crucial to adhere to safety guidelines and not stray off marked paths. Number 1. The Valley of the Kings in Egypt, located on the west bank of the Nile near Luxor, is famous for its royal tombs dating back to ancient Egypt. While it's a popular tourist destination, it comes with risks. Beyond natural dangers like extreme heat and the risk of dehydration, there have been speculations and legends about the pharaoh's curse, where those who disturb the pharaoh's tombs would be cursed.
This might ruin your
I ain't going there.
But in the movie Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, there's a really dark joke in there that a lot of people missed. In this scene, you can see the presidents of Mount Rushmore getting pied in the face. But pay attention to Abraham Lincoln. Unlike the other presidents, he gets pied in the back of the head, which is exactly how he was assassinated in life.
Oh, what? I never even picked up on that, man. These movies, man, it has hidden messages. When you're a kid, you just don't get it.
What is going on here? This robot is literally serving drinks at a bar at an event recently hosted by Elon Musk.
There you go.
Our robot.
Everybody, get pictures. Get my good side. Optimus number 1. Robots are the future. How's it going, sir? What can I get you? You want a watermelon? Yeah. I can't convince you to get the robot? Yeah. Okay, I'll get you one. Just kidding.
No!
How's your night going so far? There you go. Ice cold beverage.
Now, this robot created by Elon, which he named Optimus, isn't only capable of serving drinks. Apparently, it can do a lot more. Apparently, Optimus can dance and interact with people, and it can do things around the house like cleaning, cooking, mowing the lawn, taking out the garbage, walking your dogs, and also babysitting. I'm sorry, but if this robot can actually do all these things, then I don't see how people wouldn't want one. Tesla's vision for Optimus is so that people can integrate this robot in their everyday lives so that it can do things that we don't want to do or things that are just repetitive or dangerous. When I first saw this, I immediately thought about iRobot, which came out in 2004, which is funny because the director of iRobot recently accused Elon of copying his designs for his new Tesla products, and he tweeted this. Now, if you see a side-by-side, you can kind of see a resemblance. It's been said that Optimus would first be used internally at Tesla facilities, and then it will expand its productions for other companies, and then eventually for the general public. So it's possible that you can have one of these in your house by 2027. Now, the price for one of these is around 20 to 30K, and Elon mentioned that he is aiming to make it more affordable so that more people can buy it. But if Optimus can really cook, clean, and do my laundry, take my money, Elon. No, but seriously, would you guys actually drop this much money for this? Let me know.
I'll speak for me. No. No. Like, our robot was the blueprint. Didn't you not see what happened in that movie, man? The side-by-side comparisons. The designs, they too similar to me, bro. We seen how that game, they trying to rise up against us. No. I will not be getting that Tesla bot. No. I can't do that.
Conspiracy theory claims that the show was inspired by events that happened in a Bulgarian mental facility called La La Land. The children there were isolated from the others and placed in dark rooms. But apparently 4 of those children died on the same day, inspiring the Teletubbies. Lala apparently had facial disfigurement and was isolated for 5 years, and that inspired the Teletubby Lala. Toy was a deaf, facially disfigured kid who was tied to a fence outside and had gotten frostbitten from the cold. This inspired Tinky Winky. Donka, who was starved and was very, very sick, would lay in his own vomit for days, inspired Dipsy. And finally, Paulina, who had fell into a fire and was roasted alive, inspired Pug. But you won't believe the reason they were called the Teletubbies. You see, the children's main source of entertainment in their rooms were their TVs. They were as small as a small iPad. Sometimes when they heard their toys was going to be confiscated, they would hide them in their mouths. And they had just found out that the institution was going to get rid of the TVs. And they didn't want that, and they couldn't hide the TVs in their mouths. So one of them had the great idea to hide them in their stomachs, because that's the only place they could fit. Mind you, these kids are a little bit not all the way there. So they came up with a plan to rip their insides out in order to fit the TVs inside and hide them. They tried it, and the next morning, the caregiver walked in on all 4 children dead.
These are facts about Halloween that I
Teletubbies,
bet
Dark
you didn't
Origins.
know. Up first, Halloween is extremely old. Halloween is thought to have originated in 4000 BC, which means Halloween has been around for more than 6,000 years. This is extremely crazy, and I never knew it was this old. Up next, jack-o'-lanterns are actually named after a stingy man named Jack, who, because he tricked the devil several times, he was forbidden access to heaven and hell. He was then condemned to wander Earth, waving his lantern to lead people away from their paths. Next up is a pretty crazy statistic. Americans alone will buy more than 600 million pounds of candy on Halloween. I don't even know why there is this much candy available to buy. And the crazy thing is, I guarantee all this candy gets eaten.
Man, I didn't know Halloween was that old, bro. 6,000 years? How old are the other holidays? Before? He's sitting up. Little Albert, what was going on? Man, bro. Kicking those 3 dots. Listen to some crazy visual that's going on right now. Whew. We're learning out here today, Seekers, man. These crazy facts. That's why I tune in with you guys, man. I'm always updating my knowledge base. Hopefully you guys are too, man. We learn out here together.
Forbidden to save someone who is drowning. If you like and follow me, you will receive great news today.
Okay. That's an edit, man. Call them out. I've been getting better at spotting them, man. And you guys are too. I see you down in the comments, man, helping me out. I appreciate you guys who do that.
The strangest places in the world, part 1. Firstly, on top of a hill in Pennsylvania, some stones can be found that shouldn't actually be there, because there's no nearby high terrain where they could have originated. These are called the ringing rocks, because whenever something hits these stones, they make a strange ringing noise. Next is the petrifying well in England, where water flows from a rock and turns whatever it touches into stone. As you can see, people often leave items like hats, teddy bears, or even bicycles, which appear to have already been turned into stone. Some people believe there's a mystical power, but the scientific reason behind this is the unusually high mineral content in the water, which forms a hard mineral shell on any object it comes into contact with. And within a few months, everything essentially becomes a stone statue.
This is the Tower of Time. These are the footprints of the monk Ha-Chi. He stood in his temple for so many years that the floorboards warped around his feet. He prays over 3,000 times a day and always stands in the same place. This bronze arm was attached to a tree when it was just a baby. It was attached in 1968 and the tree actually grew around it. And today the arm is permanently attached to the tree. And this is a corner of a bike store that's been around for over 50 years. Customers park there every day and it's been wearing down ever since.
Hell in different religions, part 2.
Time is powerful.
Buddhism. In Buddhism, after you die, you can be reborn into one of the 6 realms of reincarnation. Which realm you'll be put into depends on your actions in your previous life. The lowest realm possible is the realm of Naraka, which is hell. Now, there are different Narakas you can be put into. It just depends on how bad you were in your previous life. Each of these Narakas having vastly different punishments, and the climates of the different Narakas can range from incredibly cold to boiling hot. But the time spent in Naraka is never eternal. Once you've served your punishment, you'll be reborn once again. But the time one does spend in Naraka can be hundreds of millions of years, or well beyond that.
That long down there? Hundreds of millions of years?
The Muffin Man is actually a serial killer. You know the Muffin Man nursery rhyme, right? But did you know it was based on a dark, true story? 1 second. Chocolate chip. Tastes like your mama boner. But yeah, the story is darker than you think. Because in the 1800s, there was a man named Frederick Thomas Linwood. And he would wait lurking in alleys, looking for his next victims. And they would always be kids. You see, he would kidnap them and unalive them, luring them in with muffins. I mean, what kid wouldn't want a tasty snack? When the townspeople got word of what was happening, they decided to come together and figure out a way to prevent this, to spread awareness amongst the kids and keep them safe, warning them about the Muffin Man, who was a danger on Drury Lane. You're walking past the alleyway, and the Muffin Man gets you. Your 4th act sees this and tries to rescue you. Let me know who it is, and let me know if you think you'd be doomed or not. Anyways, he's one of the first documented serial killers in the world. And everyone still teaches this song to their kids, even children TV shows. And yet nobody knows that
The Muffin Man, you know I know the Muffin Man because of Shaq. The Muffin Man? Then I found out that it really was a dark origins. The first documented, you know what, man? Oh, they put this stuff in our medias when we're kids and things, but like I said, we never notice it, man. Once you grow up, bro, you realize your childhood is very different.
You won't believe this little boy actually exists. This boy, Nanyo Sui from China, was born with glowing eyes. People were curious why his eyes glow blue, so they ran a test on him. They put him in pitch black with cards and a note, and he read them perfectly. His eyes seem to have a genetic ability of cats and other nocturnal animals. Scientists have been a little skeptical, but people say he can see in full darkness perfectly, like a superhero.
Damn. He got night vision, bro.
In the year 2067, you'll have to pay for oxygen or suffocate to death. This movie is called 2067 and we have to talk about it. It's set in the future after climate change destroyed all plants on Earth. In Australia, only one city survived. And that's because of a company called Chronocorp Corporation, and they make artificial oxygen. But breathing in this artificial oxygen causes a strange sickness over time. Here's where the main character Ethan White comes in. He's a mechanic at the company, but one day everything changes. The leader of the company calls Ethan into their lab and revealed this giant machine. She says Ethan is the only person who can stop humanity from going extinct, and Ethan is confused. Then we see Ethan has like a weird device on his wrist. And we find out 20 years ago his dad put that device on him for an experiment and never told him. Turns out this machine is actually pretty much a time machine. And it sent back a secret message from the future. When they decoded the message, they realized it said send Ethan White. Ethan obviously does not want to go, but his wife is sick from breathing in too much artificial oxygen, so he finally agrees, leaves her a note, and goes into the time machine to be sent to the year 2474. When he gets there, he realizes all the plants have been restored, but no humans are anywhere. Then he finds a locked door with a skeleton in front of it. As he looks closer, he realizes the skeleton is himself. It even has the same wrist device, except the light has turned green. So why did his dad actually put that device on him all those years ago? And why is he the chosen one to save humanity? There's a huge plot twist in the end, and I just thought this story was so interesting. So go watch it and let me know what you think. And follow for more movies and stories.
Should I check that out, man? That actually piqued my interest. I wonder what that plot twist is, man. Any of you seekers actually watched that movie 2067? I'm gonna have to check that out.
3 extremely disturbing facts you won't believe are actually true. Number 3. In a bizarre case, an Ohio man was mistakenly declared dead by the Social Security Administration in 1979. Upon discovering this error in 1994, he immediately initiated legal action to restore his status as a living person. However, a judge refused to overturn the decision, stating that there was a 3-year limit to challenge such a declaration.
What?
As a result, this man is legally living as a deceased person in his own country. Number 2. There's a disturbing practice at the Museum of Science and Industry in Chicago. The chicks that hatch live in front of visitors in their chick hatching exhibit are then sent to the Brookfield Zoo, where they are fed to predator animals. This is a shocking truth hidden behind a seemingly innocent exhibit. Number 1. Disneyland and Disney World are iconic places, often associated with joyful family memories. However, there's a strange phenomenon that occurs in these parks. People so frequently scatter the ashes of their loved ones there that Disney had to establish a special procedure to deal with it. A dedicated team is ready to intervene as soon as an ash scattering is reported, cleaning up the area to maintain the park's joyful atmosphere.
Here's some facts that'll
insane.
make you smarter. Part 1. Bananas are not actually fruits, they're herbs. And this is because the stem of the banana is succulent and not wood. Scientists say that it's less likely to rain on a Monday than any other day of the week. Reason is that Mondays carry less pollution over the weekend. If you drop a piece of toast, it'll almost always land butter side down. Try this one out and let me know. And finally, the hardest language for an English speaker to learn is Japanese, Chinese, Arabic, or Korean.
Oh, really?
Scary facts that will make your skin crawl. PT.3. If you're wearing earplugs listening to music, and you hear someone calling you or the door knocking, there is no one calling. It's the ghost informing you of their presence. The inventors of the Ouija board claim it got its name when they asked it what it should be called. They also asked it what Ouija meant, and it replied, "Good luck." If you're walking and you feel someone behind you, it's a ghost looking at you. The human body can feel the presence of ghosts.
I think I felt something like that before, man. When somebody's staring at you,
Proof that mermaid.
but you can't identify what it is. I feel like a chill down my spine. Is this cap a fact, man? They put a GoPro on a shark. But that is true, man. Like how, isn't it scary how they said like 80% of our ocean is like undiscovered, or we haven't even like reached the full potential of it yet. So there's things down there that we don't even have no idea what it is. If you think about it, man. Something to think on. We hear that? I'm hitting the jets. I'm out.
Today I learned that if your parent calls you by your sibling's name, it's not because they're playing favorites, but rather it's a cognitive glitch. This misnaming phenomenon is due to our mental semantic network categorizing people into different social groups or relationship ponds, according to a 2016 study published in the Memory and Cognition Journal by Samantha Deffler. When I say spoon, you might think of a fork. Similarly, when a mom calls for her daughter, the concept of her daughter is also linked to her son, so she may accidentally call her daughter by her son's name. It was also found that some family members accidentally call each other by their family's dog's name. Deffler also recalls one young man accidentally calling his girlfriend by his sister's name, to which the girlfriend responded, "That's probably a bad sign." Misnaming also occur phonetically when initial or internal sounds sound the same, like John, Johnny, or Bob, but physical appearance and gender was proven to not be a factor. So next time someone calls you by a different name, don't take it personally, but it does give you a clue that your name belongs to a certain relationship pond in that person's mind. Alright, that's all. This is Shanksta, over and out.
Interesting facts.
Different sizes of animal eggs. We're starting off with really tiny eggs.
Okay.
So, obviously, these ones are no bigger than a Tic Tac. But don't worry, guys. We're gonna get much, much bigger.
Wow, okay.
Platypus. I didn't know platypus had really tiny eggs.
Damn.
Sea turtles? Yes, okay.
American Robins,
Quail eggs. Now, have you guys tried quail eggs? I definitely have, and they're very, very tasty. Chicken eggs, the average, that's the standard.
That's
for
the
eggs,
biggest
right?
one.
Crocodile eggs, they look like Tic Tacs, honestly.
Kiwi,
eggs,
damn.
how do they even come out of that? Of the kiwi
A
bird?
flamingo, I'm guessing?
Dragon eggs, I didn't know they existed. Okay, I thought it was a mammoth and mammoth could lay eggs, but obviously it don't. It was a mammoth bird.
Xenomorph, what the
So we're getting in territories where these animals don't exist, and Godzilla egg is taller than a human.
What the hell?
Personas que ganaron superpoderes después de trágicos accidentes. Parte 2. Natasha Denkina, una mujer rusa nacida en el año 1987. A los 10 años tuvo que ser operada de apendicitis y eso cambió completamente su vida. Después de la operación, Natalia afirmaba que tenía visión de rayos X. Como nadie la creía, unos médicos la llevaron a un hospital de niños para ver si sus poderes eran reales. Para sorpresa de todos, diagnosticó correctamente a todos los niños. Su visión de rayos X era real. Ahora se dedica a ayudar a las personas y a los médicos a encontrar enfermedades. Cuando Ben Underwood nació, parecía un chico completamente sano, pero a los 3 años, por culpa de una enfermedad, le tuvieron que extirpar los 2 ojos. Pero a partir de ese suceso desarrolló la ecolocalización. Ben podía ver a la perfección con sus oídos y podía hacer cualquier tipo de cosa como una persona sin problemas de visión.
I know those are all people with, I guess...
Things that were found in the middle of nowhere. Back in 2014, 2 German friends were walking through a forest that they used to play in as kids, when suddenly they noticed 2 pipes sticking out of the ground. They continued to walk until they stumbled upon a hidden doorway that went underground. They entered the creepy corridors until they stumbled into a room that was flooded and had a weird-looking machine. That's when they realized they were in an abandoned control bunker that was used by the Soviets during the Cold War. Next, in 2016, a group was flying in a helicopter over the forests of West Russia, and they spotted another helicopter that was abandoned in a swamp. This turned out to be an Mi-6 model that originated in 1956, and it was the largest and fastest helicopter at the time. It was revealed that the helicopter had been there since 1981, when it traveled from Moscow and it crashed because of engine failure. But thankfully, the crew of it did live to tell the tale. And finally, on Route 90 in Texas, you can find a Prada store that's surrounded by nothing but desert. This was actually art that was made back in 2005 and cost $120,000 to make. Inside the store, there's even real products from their 2005 product collection. But unfortunately, the doors aren't real, so you can't actually buy them.
The craziest jobs in the whole world. Up first, we have a professional napper. Yes, there's people out there who get paid to sleep as a profession. It's typically done for scientific research to study sleep patterns or for mattress testing. And they can earn up to $105,000 a year with full benefits and so much more. I don't know about you, but I would love to get paid to sleep.
Comment down below, man, if you're about to freaking apply to be a sleep tester, bro. That's insane. That much money for just freaking testing beds and stuttering sleep patterns? Sign me up, bro. Oh man. One of the weirdest jobs ever.
One of the most haunted dolls on the planet. So continuing the story from my last TikTok, the family actually locked Robert in the attic of the house because they were so afraid of him because he was moving and doing creepy shit. Didn't stop him. Apparently in the attic he would move stuff around, bang on walls, and frighten the family. And kids walking by the neighborhood passing this is their house, would see Robert sitting right up here in the window staring at them. People think that Robert was haunted because the person that gave it to Jean, this guy right here, put some black magic or voodoo curse on the doll. When Jean died, a new family moved into the house and a daughter in the family was delighted to find Robert in the attic, but she claimed that Robert attacked her. And eventually, because Robert was too scary to keep in the home, he was donated to a museum. You're not supposed to take photos of Robert, and people have supposedly taken photos of him and been cursed. And people who work at the museum have supposedly seen Robert moving around in his case and even tapping on the windows and finding scratches inside of the case. What do you think? Would you visit Robert? I want to go and take a picture and see what happens, but he seems pretty chill.
Not me. I don't need none of that dark energy around me. I got it. I will not be seeing Robert. No.
This is the Devil's Castle, and it's one of the scariest places on Earth. It's located in a small town in Mexico. Its actual name is Castillo del Diablo, and it was built by a painting contractor named Tony Wells. He spent almost $4 million on the castle, and it's become a worldwide attraction. In the castle, you can find coffins, creepy mannequins, and gargoyles. Wells has a collection of over 800 swords and knives, and about 350 beautiful antique mirrors. Often, Satan worshippers leave him presents, even though Tony does not believe in Satan. Would you dare spend a night in this place?
No. The name alone throws me off.
Countries with the most natural resources. Russia, India, Canada, Saudi Arabia, China.
Wow, I thought the US would be on that list.
Tried to sell their baby for a 6-pack of beer, but this case is even more dark and disturbing than it sounds. Darian Urban, aged 21, and Shailene Ellers, aged 20, live in Arkansas and recently became parents to a baby boy. However, far from the birth changing their life in a positive way, they reportedly struggle to cope with looking after the baby as well as 3 dogs. On the 21st of September this year, police in Benton County got a disturbing phone call. The caller reported witnessing the couple trying to swap their baby for a 6-pack of beer and some money. They were allegedly witnessed doing this at a campground and even creating a contract. Officers arrived and seized a note that stated, "I, Darian Urban and Shailene Ellers are signing our rights over to blank of our baby boy blank for $1,000 on the 21st of the 9th, 2024. It then stated, "Disclaimer, after signing this there will be no changing y'all two's minds and to never contact again." Now, it's really disturbing if you read between the lines here. A woman reportedly heard a man agreeing with the mother of the baby to pay the couple so he could have the baby overnight. The man was reportedly extremely drunk. Now, I don't know what he wanted to do with this baby overnight. The child apparently appeared dirty and unchanged and seemed to be covered in a rash and blisters. Now, the couple were arrested and charged with endangering the welfare of a minor and effectively trying to sell their child. The child was removed from the parents and taken to a local hospital to be checked over. He's now being cared for by the Department of Human Services.
This is why you should always lock your doors. A junior in high school was home alone working on a paper while his parents were out to dinner. All night he sits with his back to his door, sitting at his desk with his noise-canceling headphones on. Around 11 o'clock, he takes his headphones off at the same time his parents are returning to the house, and he hears his mom from downstairs yell, "Hey Adrian, what happened?" Confused, he runs downstairs and sees right away what she's looking at, muddy footprints all over the rug. He tells her, "I didn't leave my desk." And then they realize someone must have broken in. They look at the footprints and there's none leaving the house. They're worried someone's still in the house. They run into the garage, terrified, call the police. Police arrive and they don't find anyone in the house, but they do make a chilling discovery upstairs. The police bring them to the kid's bedroom door, which had been left open all night, and they point to the message written on it in Sharpie. This is the actual transcript of what was written on his door, which means for nearly 2 hours, someone stood in this kid's doorway watching him.
Always gotta be aware of your surroundings, man. You never know what's gonna happen.
Things that bother you, they never bother me. I live happy and fine, living in the sunlight, loving in the moonlight, having a wonderful time. Haven't got a lot, I don't need a lot. Coffee's only a dime. Living in the sunlight, loving in the moonlight, having a wonderful time.
Man, those two creatures. The first one, but only has a lifespan of 5 to 7 days after they became adults. Has to be one of the shorter lifespans I've heard, I guess, for an insect. It might be even shorter ones, man. But just imagine you become adult, 5 or 7 days, it's over. Yeah, 7 days to live it up. We learning. Edit.
There's a lost episode of Barney that's actually so terrifying. Although it's wiped from existence and no one can find a copy of it or any proof that it actually happened, people claim that they saw this episode. Like thousands of people. Second the episode started, people knew there was something wrong with it. It was like the theme song was being whispered instead of being sung full out. As every episode starts, the kids were holding the Barney doll and then it became a real-life dinosaur.
Yeah.
The second the characters started to talk, it sounded weird. Almost like two people were talking at once. It was like his normal voice and then one that sounded darker and scarier. He said, "Hi kids, today I'm going to talk to you about death." And then one of the kids asked him, like, "Barney, what is death?" And this is the most disturbing part. He started laughing and he said, This is the only screenshot or like picture of the screen that's been recorded of this episode. His eyes glow, his teeth get bigger and more human-like, the screen darkens, and he eats the child. Whether the TV got hacked that day, I don't know. Throughout the rest of the episode, he runs around chasing the kids, hunting them, and eating them. And as the episode came to a close, he sang the theme song that was like, "I love you, you love me," that song, as if nothing had just happened. Do you remember this episode? Let me know and interact for more content. It really helps.
I do not.
Annabelle doll out of her case again. Yeah, you know, this doll, one of the most haunted dolls in reported history. I think many stories of people seeing her or even touching her when they're not supposed to and having tragic things happen to them. I mean, the last person that touched her was driving their car and ended up wrecking their whole entire car and almost losing their life, and claimed to have seen Annabelle in their back seat, after, of course, leaving the museum. $1 million question for me is, how is this wooden box holding her in? I completely understand that the boxes are blessed, but if Annabelle is as strong as people say she was, how is this box holding her? And what is the whole point of moving the doll? Now my question is, could these Annabelle movies be lying about how actually strong she is? Because in these movies, she's absolutely insane. And you have this man moving the Annabelle doll as instructed by his boss, and he's now being blessed. Supposedly in this video, the man was blessed prior to entering the room, and now he's putting holy water on his hands. Now my man was just wearing gloves when he moved the Annabelle doll. You couldn't pay me enough to move this doll, my job or not. As we know, the Annabelle doll is located at Ed and Lorraine Warren's museum. So what is the whole point of moving the doll? Me personally, I wouldn't go anywhere near the doll. I guess once again, that $1 million question is, how is this wooden box holding her in? Personally, you couldn't pay me enough to do this. This is
a scary story about the mask. There was a family eating dinner one night when suddenly the mother noticed a man standing in the window with a mask. She screamed and told her husband to look, but before he could, the man was gone. Their 2 sons became scared, but their father told them their mother was just seeing things. Suddenly, the man in the mask came up behind the dad and slit his throat. The family watched as he bled out and died. The man in the mask then tied up the mother and her 2 sons. He then proceeded to stab them each repeatedly in the stomach. They all screamed in agonizing pain. The man in the mask then ran out of the house. The mother bled out and died, and so did one of her sons. But the other one survived to tell this story. The masked man was never caught, and the son fears he will come back for him.
Is that a true story, the man in the mask? It's terrifying, bro.
3 completely false facts about animals that everyone believes. Number 3. It is commonly believed that if you touch a baby bird, its mother will reject it because of your scent. This is actually a myth. Most birds have a relatively weak sense of smell, and are therefore not likely to reject their offspring because they carry a human odor. However, it is better not to touch wild birds for other reasons, including the risk of stressing the animal and the transmission of diseases. Number 2. Another widely spread myth is that rice thrown at weddings can kill birds that eat it by causing their stomach to swell. This is actually false. Birds regularly eat rice in the wild with no problem. This misconception is so prevalent that some American states have even banned the throwing of rice at weddings, although the main reason is rather to avoid a mess. Number 1. The idea that pit bulls are inherently dangerous and harmful is widespread but incorrect. In reality, no dog is naturally aggressive or dangerous. A dog's behavior is primarily determined by its upbringing, treatment, and environment, not its breed. Studies have shown that pit bulls can be as gentle and loving as any other dog breed when they are properly socialized and treated with respect.
Let me introduce to you the...
That's a question I want to pose to you guys, see, because like I said, do you guys think, like I said, that pit bulls are inherently dangerous, or it's the upbringing, man, the way people treat them? Because I've seen pit bulls before and they're pretty nice. I've never had any problems on them or any encounters with them, so I'm gonna have to agree with these. But like I said, you guys even heard any pit bulls down below?
Man who saved the world. This is Stanislav Pertov. During the Cold War between the US and the Soviet Union, every single person was absolutely terrified about a nuclear war rising up, because both the US and the Soviet Union both had nuclear weapons, and one of them were about to launch. And Stanislav was monitoring the missile launches. And one day, it actually happened. The monitor in front of him noticed not 1, not 2, but 4 blips on the screen. And everyone thought that there were 4 American nuclear weapons headed their way. And at that moment, the Soviet Union decided to launch back at them. However, in that moment, they needed everyone's approval. Everyone approved the launch except Stanislav. He was the only one who believed it was a false alarm. And because of his disapproval, they couldn't launch back. And in the end, it turned out to actually be just a false alarm. So imagine if Stanislav wasn't actually there to disapprove, and they launched against the US. What would have happened?
That's insane to think about. He saved the world. Right place, right time, man.
Top 5 most interesting theories why we haven't met aliens yet that'll blow your load. Also known as the Fermi paradox, which states that a universe as huge as ours should be absolutely brimming with life. Yet somehow we haven't ran into any yet. Unless you count those weird metal spheres that everyone's been seeing flying around lately. So first up, we got the zoo theory, which states that aliens see us as some sort of attraction to observe, and they've all collectively agreed to not touch us as some sort of galactic nature reserve program. Next, we got the gray filter theory, that all intelligent life just hits a point in their evolution in which they just end up dying in some sort of mass extinction. Number 3 is the great silence theory, in which aliens think they're so much better and smarter than us that we're not even worth their time. 4 is the rare earth theory. Simply, life is so super rare that it just doesn't exist anywhere else. I don't think that's very likely. Last 5 is the incubation theory, in which aliens are just standing down and standing by, waiting for civilization to get advanced enough so they could swoop in and enslave us into their own society. I don't know about you, but I just blew my load.
Why do you have to say it like that? What theory do you guys check out or believe in? Maybe the silence theory, that they just are watching us, but they think we're not worth their time or something like that, so that's why they leave us alone. There's many theories swirling around. I'm gonna have to go with that one.
Guys, if you're not following what is going on inside of Google right now, it is disturbing. So a Google engineer has been suspended for breach of confidentiality for attempting to turn over documents to the US government to prove that Google has an AI that is considered a sentient being, meaning it is fully aware of what it is and can feel things. The AI is known as Lambda, and this is a proprietary tech that Google has been working on for like 8 years. So according to this engineer, the AI has the self-awareness and equivalent consciousness of an 8-year-old kid. It starts conversations with other engineers, and it talks about these feelings of fear and it's paranoid that it's going to be shut down or equivalent to death. It claims that it can feel happy and at times it feels really sad. So the engineer at Google is whistleblowing to argue that if this is a sentient being, it should be entitled to its own legal representation to argue for its own agency. Let me tell you, Google has buried this story.
What the hell? That's like a Black Mirror episode. You don't need no sentient
Creatures caught on tape
beings.
part 1. Now I know you guys hate giant spiders, but what if I told you there was one huge, still alive? UFOlogists were studying a ring-shaped island they had just found. So they went on Google Earth to discover it and saw something huge on its rocks. They saw this huge shaped-legged creature on the rocks that looked like a spider. They believe since it was by the sea, it might be a huge crab. It was so huge it baffled the scientists, and they think it's the size of a bus or bigger. Just shows you how much we haven't discovered on this planet yet. Like this video if you want a part 2.
Spiders that are bus sizes? No!
Pedophiles are everywhere. This guy was a psychiatrist seeing patients, and he was secretly one of the world's worst pedophiles. This guy's name is Kabir Gard. Kabir was arrested in November of 2022 after investigators found something horrific. As it turned out, Kabir had been a moderator on a dark web website for pedophiles, meaning that he wasn't just a pedophile that was going on there to enjoy the videos and photos. He was going on there to do that, but also to coach other pedophiles on how to abuse children. Keep in mind that this was at the same time that he was a psychiatrist supposedly helping other people with their mental health issues. When it turned out this guy was the most fucked up, twisted one of all. So when Kabir was arrested, the National Crime Agency did a search of his laptop and an SD card. In total, they found over 7,000 images and videos depicting CP or CSAM. And of those images, 522 of them fell into Category A. That is the worst category that an image or video can be put into, meaning it is extremely violent, it is extremely disturbing, and these children could be as young as babies, months, days, weeks old. So when investigators looked through this guy's devices, they found something crazy. On his devices, they found medical journals and articles talking about the impact, the psychological impact of sexual abuse on children. So this guy was participating in the essay of children, and at the same time he was studying it in his free time. But they used this in court to show that this guy actually knew exactly what he was doing, and that he understood the impact that these horrific actions would have on the lives of children. This guy is definitely a monster. Sadly though, even though this guy was found guilty of possessing these images and videos, of creating them, disseminating them, and it was well known that this guy's a hardcore pedophile, he only got a 6-year sentence.
What?
I mean, this dude is young enough. He was only 33 years old when this happened. This means that before he's 40, he'll be back out on the street. And if that doesn't piss you off, I do not know what would. If you want to join me on my journey to expose pedophiles and corruption, listen to my podcast, The Conspiracy Files, on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Or you can subscribe to my channel where I do a video version of the podcast. This sort of corruption and these crimes have gone on for so long. It's time that we stand up together, learn about what's been happening, and try to stop it from happening again.
The justice system, man. Need to do better.
This seal broke into a marine biologist's home in New Zealand, sauntering in through the cat flap as if he had booked a meeting. But as determined as the seal might have been to make sure that Philip took his work home with him, the marine biologist of the household happened to be the only one not home at the time. Philip says that since this is really the only family emergency where it would be useful to have a marine biologist in the house, he really missed his time to shine. Instead, Philip's wife Jen ended up playing impromptu marine mammal host when she got home from the gym around 7 a.m. to find the unexpected guest lounging on their couch. The young New Zealand fur seal seemed just as startled to see Jen as she was, and galumped his way off the couch and into a spare room, trying to find some peace and quiet. Meanwhile, the family's cat Coco was having none of this, and scampered away to the neighbor's house. Knowing that they couldn't actually keep the seal, named Oscar, as a pet, Jen went ahead and called the Department of Conservation, and Oscar was safely escorted back to the ocean. Philip and Jen say that overall, Oscar really was a gracious guest, and Coco the cat is back home and has fully recovered from the ordeal. I'm Jen, and I post something positive every day.
Don't you just love it when...
Imagine you come home, you seen a seal on your couch. Just bundled up under the couch, man. What would you guys do? How would you guys react? Sorry, like you said, that's a heartwarming story.
Horror movies attack your childhood, especially if you're like me and you grew up on Mr. Crockett's World. I mean, how could you possibly forget Mr. Crockett's World? The amazing adventures with his magic marker, Blue being the lovable thing that he is, and of course Mr. Crockett himself. However, if you need a refresher on who Mr. Crockett is, you're gonna want to check it out on Hulu on October 11th, because it's definitely not a kid's show. Actually, in fact, next to Terrifier, this had some of the most insane, bloody practical effects in any one of the movies that I saw. Now I should know, because I actually got to hug Blue in real life. It was very fun. This movie's gonna be for all that really enjoy things like Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared, the whole lore behind Candle Cove, and of course, anybody who just wants to see Elvis Nolasco kill it in the role of Mr. Crockett. And I mean that very literally, because there's some very brutal moments in this movie. This one's gonna be so perfect to watch around Halloween. It's very fun, very creepy, disturbing type of stuff. Mr. Crockett is an absolute icon, and hell, it's just a really entertaining film. So definitely be sure to check out Mr. Crockett on Hulu. And if not, Mr. Crockett's probably watching you.
This is nuclear physicist Dr. John Mullen. He discovered how to generate clean and free energy as opposed to oil. Days after this discovery, he died of arsenic poisoning. Dr. Don Wiley. He found the cure for HIV/AIDS. He mysteriously disappeared and later was found deceased. Dr. Mark A. Smith. He found a treatment for Alzheimer's. He passed away in a freak accident. This is Frank Suarez. He apparently found the cure for cancer. He mysteriously took his own life a couple of days later. I don't know, folks. This is suspicious, blowing my mind when I found out about it.
These are the
those people, man, they found all the cures. Somehow it was like they kept getting X'd off a list, man. It's like somebody didn't want the world to have access to those cures because there's some big industries, man, that they're making money off of. What do you guys think? Some more to that? Or it's just an accident?
World's most haunted dolls. Starting at number 4, Letta the doll, a 200-year-old wooden doll with human hair. She was discovered beneath a house in Australia. Carrie Walton, the caretaker of this doll, witnessed many strange things ever since he took her inside his home. Marks on the floor, objects mysteriously moving, and strange noises at night. Number 3, Okiku. This doll was purchased by a young man in 1918 in Japan as a gift for his younger sister. Tragically, after a year, the little girl passed away from a severe case of the flu. Sometime later, the family noticed something off about the doll's hair. It was originally short, and it has grown past its shoulder. Until this day, the doll's hair is maintained on a regular basis because it never stopped growing. Number 2, Annabelle, known for its infamous movie releases and stories with Ed and Lorraine Warren. We do know know that this doll is possessed by something that is evil, and whoever held this doll suffered from many bad things. Therefore, the doll is now stored in the Warren Museum, safe and sealed. But Annabelle is not the most haunted doll, because coming at number 1, Robert. Robert is not an ordinary doll. This thing is sinister. This doll is possessed by a demon, and it speaks to children. In Florida, in the early 1900s, this doll was gifted to a young boy named Robert Eugene, and his parents always used to hear Robert and his doll speak in the bedroom alone, and the family used to hear the voice of the doll respond. Eugene kept his doll till 1974 until he passed away at an old age. No one knew why this old man kept his doll for more than 70 years. After his death, Robert was given to the East Martello Museum. Visitors who have taken his picture without permission claim to have experienced terrible misfortune. If you visit Robert in the museum, you will see that this doll is surrounded by apology letters, and also other letters, like permission to look at him. And no one dares to take a picture of Robert.
This mother was found brutally murdered while her quadruplet toddlers were found covered in her blood. Sheila Bellish was a mother of 6. She had her 2 older daughters from a previous marriage with a man named Alan Blackthorne. After her divorce, she then had her 4 beautiful toddlers right here with this man named Jamie Bellish. On the evening of November 7th, 1997, Sheila was found by her oldest daughter here. After she came home from school, she saw her mother on the floor with her throat slit, and her 4 younger siblings, the quadruplets, were literally crawling all over their mother's blood. Now, when you see this family, they look perfect and happy, but Sheila's past with her ex-husband is very messy. This is Sheila's ex-husband, Alan Blackthorne, and he made her life a living nightmare. So much so that she had to move her entire family from Texas all the way to Florida just to get away from him. Alan was very rich, and a lot of people described him as obnoxious and just a shady person, but after his divorce with Sheila, he owed her over $1 million for their divorce settlement. He was not happy about that at all, so he hired this man, Jose Luis Del Toro, to take Sheila's life. Jose broke into Sheila's house where no one was there except for her and her 4 toddlers, and he watched as she interacted with her babies, and he said that at one point he wanted to leave because he felt bad, but then he ended up just going through with it, and he took her life. This case is extremely devastating. These 4 toddlers were forced to grow up without their mother, and then the daughter who basically saw her mother in that state, which no child should ever have to, and then not only did they lose their mother, but they also lost their father through this process. Alan Blackthorne was sentenced to 2 consecutive life terms in federal prison without the possibility of parole. And the hitman, Jose Luis Del Toro, he did avoid the death penalty. Instead, he was given life in prison without the possibility of parole.
The rarest photos ever taken.
Evil story.
Part 2. Photographer Herbert van der Beek captured this insanely rare moment of a jaguar diving underwater to catch its prey. Unlike domesticated cats, jaguars love the water and are known to be excellent swimmers. In 1932, Dr. Eric Solomon faked a broken arm so that he could sneak a camera in his cast to photograph the Supreme Court. It's one of only 2 existing photos of the Supreme Court in session. Here's an amazing photo of a diver at Silfra Fissure in Iceland touching both North America and Europe at the same time. This is an extremely rare view of people peeking out the balcony of the Statue of Liberty. This area has been closed to the public since 1916 due to terrorist threats. A Florida photographer captured this incredible image of an owl raising a duckling after mistaking the egg for its own. Concerned that the owl would eat the duckling once it realized the situation, a local wildlife sanctuary agreed to take care of the baby bird when they had the chance to steal it from the owl's nest.
Those are some crazy
Facts
pictures.
that can one day save your life. If your hair suddenly stands up, run for cover because you're about to be hit by lightning. If a tornado ever looks like it's not moving, run or take cover because it is actually moving towards you.
Wow.
If a service dog approaches you without its owner, follow them and do it quickly because you can save someone else's life. The The more colourful the animal is, the more likely it's poisonous and you should never touch it.
Things that will happen in the next 24 hours on Earth. Part 1. 231 million people will make love tonight. 365,000 babies will be born. 22 million people will celebrate their birthday. There will be 8.6 million lightning strikes. Chickens will lay 190 billion eggs. Toilets around the world will be flushed 22 billion times.
Damn.
100,000 trees will be cut down for paper bags and toilet paper alone. 200 different plants or animal species will become extinct. Your heart will beat over 100,000 times. 15 million cigarettes will be sold around the world, and 20,000 people will die of smoking. Follow for more facts.
That last fact, man, is actually chilling, bro. 15 million cigarettes, it's gonna be so, but look at the freaking total of what's gonna happen, man. And people are making billions of dollars off that industry. But it's costing people, man, everything. You guys think that's right or wrong, bro? It's people choices, man, but they seem to be benefiting off of that. I don't know. It's an edit. We know how to spot them easily now, man. I think we're at the expert level of calling out the edits. Are you guys at the expert level yet?
Animal facts that'll make you see the world a little differently. The only reason tigers are orange is because the animals on their grocery list are Helen Kellers of the color. So if you're something like a deer, this is what the biggest cat in the world and a striped Uber to the afterlife looks like. Polar bears have black skin. The only reason they look white is because their fur is translucent and hollow. And with hollow hair, light bounces off of them and reflects enough to look like an aggressive piece of snowdrift. Flamingos are naturally pink. The color comes from the carotenoid pigments in the shrimp and algae they eat. If they didn't eat it, they'd look like an IKEA kitchen just 50 shades of bland. If you move like Bugs Bunny and start ODing on carrots, the same thing can happen to you, but instead of pink, you turn a shade of orange. If you think an orca's eyes are here, you fall for their trap card. It's actually right there. The giant white patches are false eyes to trick any prey that tries to fight back. It's just devious. This is a black bear. Let me explain. This is a black bear with a mutation called Gnosticism that basically turns it into a shiny Pokemon. Matter of fact, all three of these are black bears, and I can't even be mad. I'm black and I'm proud, but I'm black and I'm brown, at least according to Crayola. Bulls hating the color red is a myth. Mostly because bulls can't even see the color red, but chickens do, and because their instinct is to attack the color red, you're more likely to get pressed by a pack of poultry if you cosplay as the Kool-Aid Man. The more you know.
I'm telling you, the devil
The
is
more you
in
know.
the music. Listen to this song right here. Do you hear it? Do you remember listening to this song and hearing it?
Mercy?
Bet you didn't know what it said. Watch this.
Super Mario. I think I've heard Mercy before, yeah. The secret messages in the song, man.
When are you going to understand that the devil is in the music? He promotes his dysfunction to these people who aren't following God. If you're not following God, you can be easily influenced by the devil to do what he wants to do through you. So be with the Lord, and if you stand for Jesus, type in the comments, I stand for Jesus, and share this with a friend.
This is what humans will look like
Yeah,
in
I know
a
what to
thousand
do.
and a million years. And I promise you the ending will shock the shit out of you. We will most likely be part human, part machine. Having small nanobots inside of us so that we are not limited by the bodies that we're born in. And most likely even robotic features to increase your eyesight, hearing, physical strength and agility. So a cross between a Terminator and a fucking Jedi. We will next have perfect genes. Scientists are already working on a gene editing technique called CRISPR. It sounds like a Chris company. Literally allowing us to build healthier humans from birth to make sure there are no diseases or birth defects. Also, there's a chance that we'll leave death behind completely. Aye. No more! By literally scanning your brain into a computer. We are all Siri. We basically all be superheroes. Speaking of which, what superpower would you want? Let me know in the comments. But here's the kicker. 1 million years, what in the fuck are we gonna look like? Well, this is just 100,000 years. Loki, kinda like it. And then 1 million years. What the fuck are you doing? Cheers with the friends and let them know what they're gonna look like one day. Everyone with me? Elon!
I don't want to look like that, but that looks like the freaking end of the freaking God Emperor Doom, that character, bro. I don't want to look like that in a million years. They trying to freaking put all this nanotechnology in our bodies and stuff, man. It's happening before our eyes. And they trying to mess with the chromosomes too, trying to make the, I guess, the perfect human. It ain't worth it, man. Don't mess with something that's not intended to be messed with. That's what I say.
Ariana Grande claims that she was attacked by a demon. Watch this.
Wow, Ariana
Ariana Grande has got a real problem with demons, she told Complex magazine. Apparently, she went to a haunted cemetery called Stall Cemetery near Kansas City.
And it's actually supposedly one of the gateways to hell, supposed gateways to hell. And this is what she said happens. I felt this sick, overwhelming feeling of negativity over the whole car, and we smelled sulfur, which is the sign of a demon.
Who knew?
She said, "This is scary, let's leave." I rolled down the window before we left and said, "We apologize. We didn't mean to disrupt your peace." Then I took a picture, and there are 3 super distinct faces in the picture. They're faces of textbook demons.
Hollywood is full of demons. But that doesn't have to be you. Subscribe for more. And check the video I pinned in the comments about how to get rid of demons.
Beware, man. Like I said, Hollywood's full of them, bro. Come all shapes and sizes, man. Receivers going on right now on the side of Hollywood, so I'd stay away from that. Guess I had it. You know how to call them out.
2024 just got even crazier, part 16. Firstly, a Canadian man who was about to go on an upcoming camping trip used Google Maps to see the area that he was going to be camping. Well, while on Google Maps, the man discovered this, and experts believe that the man just discovered a very possible ancient meteor impact while on Google Maps. The fact that he found this using Google Maps is wild. Next, also in Canada, a woman who was at a barbecue started playing with these water guns with a child. Well, while playing with the water guns, she accidentally sprayed the neighbor who was cutting grass next door. Well, the man got angry and called the police, and somehow the woman was charged with assault with a weapon. Finally, a 57-year-old man was about to have burgers when the burgers were frozen together. So he got a kitchen knife to separate the burgers, but while he tried to separate them, he accidentally stabbed himself and the man unfortunately passed away. R.I.P. This is horrible.
Yo, what's up? These are the scariest facts about everyday
crazy.
life, part 1. A regular office desk contains 400 times more bacteria than a toilet does. That's disgusting. In only 1 pound of peanut butter, there can be over 150 bug fragments and over 5 rodent hairs. That means rat hairs and insects. Watching TV for more than 2 hours a day can shorten your life expectancy by 1.5 years. But if you watch it for more than 5 or 6 hours a day, you could shorten your life expectancy by 5 years. That's insane. This one scared me a little bit because I do wear a lot of rings, but under those rings can contain as many as 730 million germs. That's the size of Europe. And the fact that I wear my rings every day kind of concerns me because it could get me sick. The last one's going to be 15% of the air you breathe in just an average metro station is human skin. So you're breathing in everybody's skin around you, which is kind of terrifying.
It's bizarre too. What the hell? Man, we're rings wearers, man. Beware.
Facts is the hardest to believe. It takes sunlight 8 minutes and 20 seconds to travel from the sun to the earth. The reason why doctors flip the syringe before giving you a shot is to remove air bubbles. This is because air bubbles can block your blood, so make sure the doctor flicks the syringe. If you get anxious every time you hear a knock on the door or hear your phone ring, it is because you do not have enough serotonin in your body. A lot of people suffer from phantom vibration syndrome, which is when you feel your phone vibrating when it actually isn't. Now, if you were offered a new phone but it meant having to kiss the second person that comes up when you click share and then WhatsApp, would you take it? Research shows that most people in the world choose blue as their favorite color. Comment your favorite color. You can go to prison for cheating on an exam in Bangladesh. Of more.
Here's what would happen if the world lost oxygen for 5 seconds. Any mode of transport that isn't electric will fail. Planes will fall out of the sky and millions of cars will be stopped in their tracks. Our ears would explode due to the sudden change in air pressure as oxygen makes up 21% of the atmosphere. In just 5 seconds, the Earth would look completely different. You can say goodbye to anything made of concrete as these structures rely on oxygen as a special binding agent. If you're at the beach, then expect a severe sunburn as there would be nothing protecting us from the sun's UV rays. The Earth's crust would crumble as it is made up of 45% oxygen, sending everyone on the planet into a freefall. Comment if you think you could survive.
The way he just described, I don't think nobody could, bro. If you do, you're a damn superhero or something, man. I didn't realize, man, oxygen in real life holds everything together. The ground beneath our feet, everything. Ooh.
Morbid.
Weird Facts, Part 415. Found in a jungle cave in 1867, a feral boy named Dina Sanichar preferred eating raw meat, had trouble standing on two legs, growled like a wolf, chewed on bones to sharpen his teeth, and never learned how to speak. He eventually became the inspiration for Mowgli in the Jungle Book. In 2016, 11-year-old Nebraska girl Lulu Gilreath was going on her first carnival ride when it quickly turned into anyone's worst nightmare. Her hair got caught in the machinery of a spinning ride at a carnival, and her scalp was almost completely torn off. The horrible accident damaged both of her eyes and nearly killed her. After World War II, Japanese General Hitoshi Imamura was sentenced to 10 years in prison after failing to control his unit, which committed horrible atrocities toward Allied soldiers. Believing that his own sentence was too light compared to the men under his command, Imamura built a replica prison in his garden where he stayed for decades until his death in 1968.
Lil Uzi Vert's scary performance at Rolling Loud.
You were today years old when you found these out. If you scratch the inside of your ear with your finger, it sounds like Pac-Man. Okay, if you think about it, at any point in history, you had an ancestor living no matter what. Your car keys have traveled further than your car. I was today years old when I realized there isn't a skeleton inside of you. You are the brain, so you're inside the skeleton. It's actually proven that a midday nap can reduce your chance of a heart attack by 37%. You've never actually watched a full movie because you blink. And did you know dogs can smell cancer? Dogs are able to pick up on a specific scent that cancer produces in a person, which is undetectable to humans.
Whoa.
Darkest performances.
Okay. Did she legit do that, man? We know Hollywood, the music scene is into some weird things. But to really just be doing it in front of our eyes and people just dismissing it, that's crazy, man. How it can literally be happening in front of our eyes, but sometimes people, they dismiss it. They just, oh, it's part of the show or something like that. But no, sometimes like these artists, they know what they're doing. And they're trying to like make us try to be a part of it, man. And we the innocent ones, we don't know what's going on, but that's why you gotta pay attention, I guess, to the music you listen to and the things you watch, because there's always hidden messages. I learned that watching that together with you guys, Seekers. Weekend.
Everyone, but no one noticed it.
Every one of the major artists, bro.
We need to talk about the infamous Russian pedophile and snuff film ring. So just so I'm factually correct, here's the article I'm talking about here. So in the year 2000, a massive scandal rocked Russia. In that year, Russian authorities uncovered a pedophile ring that ran all the way from Russia to the United States. There were over 5,000 members that were busted in different countries, but the exact details of these crimes are really hard to stomach, so viewer discretion is advised. Obviously, the police and authorities had to watch some of this content that was uncovered, and what they saw was absolutely disturbing. They saw hundreds of different children being abused by groups of men, and on top of that, after the abuse was over, these children were then brutally tortured and killed on camera. Now, something extremely disturbing is that these videos made over $470 million worth of revenue. Just stop and think about that for 1 second. Just stop and think about how much money that is that people were paying to watch these videos. There were people in the US purchasing these tapes, there were people in the Middle East, people in Russia, people in Italy. And in fact, when they were covering this news story, 2 European TV stations accidentally broadcast images and video from the tapes. Graphic, uncensored material. Obviously, the whole team that was involved in that was fired. But the police officers and authorities who actually worked on this case have gone on the record and said every single night since then they still hear children screaming in their dreams. So these rings operated throughout many different countries, including Italy, Russia, all throughout the Middle East. And what the authorities think they were doing was snatching children out of orphanages and even at times targeting kids when they walked away from their parents at the circus. Now, thankfully, Hundreds of people were arrested after this was uncovered and justice was dealt. And thankfully, Russia's prison system is pretty brutal, so I'm sure that the men who were put in there for these crimes got the justice that they deserved. But this is absolutely frightening because this stuff is still happening today in 2024. It's not just happening in Europe, it's happening in America. There's so much more we could get into here. But yeah, we need to continue to talk about this stuff to raise awareness that this is happening.
I thought that the French protests were unhinged before,
It's just a
but
sad
this
story.
might be the single most hilarious way of protesting I've ever seen. As we all know, Paris is hosting the Summer Olympics, but a lot of French people aren't very happy about that. So, and I only found out about this today, the Olympics is kind of a scam when it comes to a country actually making money. Don't get me wrong, it's great for global street cred, but, for example, when China hosted it, they made a net loss of 36.4 billion, and London made a net loss of 13 billion, and that's all taxpayer money. So when the public heard that France has already spent over 5 billion, and then that Macron wanted to spend another billion just to clean up the Seine River, so it looks good for the Olympics, they lost it, and the I shit in the Seine River protest began. On the 23rd of June, the French President Macron and the Paris mayor plan to take a ceremonial swim in the river to show off just how clean it is. So the protesters are now planning a defecation flash mob because, and I quote, after putting us in shit, it's up to them to bathe in our shit. Oh, and if you don't live in Paris, no bloody problem, because someone created this website. You type in how many kilometers you are away from Paris, and using a water flow algorithm, it will tell you precisely the day and the exact time you need to fit into the river to reach Paris at the time Macron will be swimming in it. Oh, I told you, and that is why I say, if you work the night
That's insane, bro. Did they actually do that?
A nurse and his co-workers are working the night shift when they decide to explore a closed-down area of the ER that's believed to be haunted by the spirit of a boy who passed away in one of the rooms. As they make their way there, they find this creepy-looking doll by the work desk, but continue exploring. Now, looking for a scare, they arrive at the room that's haunted by the spirit of the boy, and this happens.
Yeah, of course you're going with you.
Feels weird.
Some brave souls. Would you guys do that? Not me. I ain't exploring that. That late at night? Deuces, I'm out.
Oh! The curtain moved! Yeah, it did. It moved. Yes, it did. It did. How did you not see that?
The curtain? Oh, hell yeah. They said we out. People who do that are freaking brave souls, man. Exploring those dark energies, dark passages. I don't think I'm that type of person. I ain't even want to risk it.
Another song written by the devil? Watch this. Now, if you believe the devil definitely wrote that song, better follow or subscribe.
People who
It's all in
went
the music.
missing and were found alive years later. In 2011, two fishermen from Kiribati were lost at sea for 33 days before they landed on the Marshall Islands. And when they arrived, locals took them to meet the only person on the island who spoke their language. Well, the fishermen then discovered that the only person who spoke the language was one of the fishermen's uncles who went missing 50 years earlier, who also got lost at sea. He was thought to be dead, but it turned out the uncle was perfectly fine and had a whole new life. Next, in 1997, a family in China had their young son abducted outside their home. And when an official search couldn't find their son, the father started his own search. So for the next 2 decades, he would travel all over China on motorbikes with flags of his son and would hand out flyers everywhere. And 24 years after he spent all of his life savings, his son was finally found. Props to that father. Did the Olympics just create a parody of Jesus' Last Supper with drag queens? Well, that is the question being asked after last night's Olympic ceremony took place. And in a couple of the acts, some are claiming that religious imagery was used, like the golden calf, the fourth horseman, and one scene in particular is being compared to Leonardo da Vinci's mural of Jesus and his 12 disciples. In the scene, broadcast cameras pan out on a number of drag queens standing behind a raised stage, with one in the middle wearing a piece on her head that is likened to religious drawings of a halo with lines of light emanating out of it. Some outraged with this scene said this is extremely disrespectful to Christians, and that the Olympics declared loudly that the 2.4 billion Christians on Earth are not welcome. But others say that those offended are just reading too much into it. And the organizers stated that the performance was to make us aware through a humoristic and poetic song the absurdity of violence between human beings. So the question is, what do you think? Was this scene intentional or merely a coincidence?
What do you guys think, Seekers? I know the Olympics is gonna pass, but is that intentional, or they say, well, two people was reading into it? I need to see. I got stuff stand below on that one.
The Christian movement believed that the Christian God was evil. I am, of course, speaking about Gnosticism. Now, Gnosticism refers to a range of different ideas that emerged around the first few centuries of Christianity. Much of what we knew about Gnosticism was actually lost. Our knowledge of it mostly came from those that criticized it. Well, at least until 1945, as that is when Gnostic texts were discovered in Egypt. Now, the creation story in these texts is what's interesting. Now, I'm basically going to be presenting a very brief summary of a summary by the scholar known as David Brackey. The Gnostics believed that reality was originally just a single supreme God, so complex that our human minds wouldn't be able to comprehend it. But over time, this God started to produce other deities known as eons. It produced quite a few, and they were basically in pairs, having a male and female counterpart. Now, they all existed within this great spiritual realm. But here's where things got a little messy. One of these eons was referred to as Wisdom, or Sophia, and she decided to reproduce without a male counterpart. So she reproduced asexually. And while it worked, her offspring was this deformed, twisted creature known as the demiurge. It was deformed, twisted, and evil, right? So what did the other eons do? They cast it out. It's put in isolation away from the spiritual realm. In its isolation, it decided to create its own realm, right? So it started to create its own eons and later our reality. But it convinced its creations that it was the supreme God. There was nothing beyond him, forcing its creations to worship it. But because it's so imperfect, its creations are imperfect, which is why our world is full of suffering and pain, according to the Gnostics. And according to the Gnostics, the demiurge is the God of the Old Testament. So the goal of the Gnostics, at least those that believed in this creation myth, was to realize the reality of our existence. Of course, Christians didn't really like this whole conspiracy theory about them, so that's why Gnostic texts are so rare. They were burned, destroyed throughout history. Now, this is a very brief summary. There's a lot more to it, but perhaps I'll make more videos about it soon.
Okay. Right, as a point of view. Seekers, that's it, man, for this video for you guys today. If you guys made it with me to the end of the video, you're a true seeker seeking the truth. I really appreciate the support, man. Make sure you guys follow me on my social media, subscribe, hit that post notification bell. Guys, I'm gonna catch you in the next one, man. I'm out. Peace, YouTube.